1519. They said it was impossible. A city of 200,000 people floating on a lake, sustained entirely by gardens that defied gravity. When Spanish conquistadors first laid eyes on Tenochtitlan, they thought they were witnessing sorcery. They weren't. They were seeing agricultural engineering centuries ahead of its time. And the Aztecs weren't alone. From Roman emperors demanding cucumbers in the dead of winter to Chinese farmers training armies of ants to protect their orchards, our ancestors unlocked growing methods that could feed empires, survive famines, and turn deserts green. Today on Stella Eureka, we're digging up 10 farming secrets that built civilizations and still beat modern methods. What you're about to discover isn't folklore, it's the future of farming buried in the past. Aztec Chinampas. We begin in the Valley of Mexico, where the Aztecs created one of the most advanced farming systems the world has ever seen. These weren't just gardens, they were precision-engineered islands that turned shallow lakes into supercharged food factories. Around 1100 CE, Aztec farmers began building rectangular plots in Lake Xochimilco. Despite being called floating gardens, they didn't actually float. These platforms were anchored to the lake bed and constructed from alternating layers of rich lake mud, decomposing vegetation, and organic waste, forming raised fields so fertile they could yield up to 7 harvests a year. The engineering behind them is stunning. Farmers drove wooden stakes into the lake bottom, wove them with reeds to form underwater walls, and filled the space with compost. Water from the canals seeped up naturally through capillary action, delivering constant moisture without a single irrigation channel. Surrounding water acted like a thermal blanket, shielding crops from frost and extending the growing season far beyond what the climate should allow. Even more remarkable, Spanish conquistadors documented that these Chinampas fed over 200,000 people in Tenochtitlan, with yields 3 times higher per acre than traditional farming and without fertilizer or machinery. Roman Specularia. From floating gardens to protected growing, our journey takes us to ancient Rome, where an emperor's simple craving launched a technological revolution that wouldn't be seen again for over 1,000 years. Emperor Tiberius had a problem. He wanted fresh cucumbers year-round for his health, but Roman winters made this impossible. What his engineers created was the world's first sophisticated greenhouse system, documented in remarkable detail by Pliny the Elder. The Specularia system was brilliantly simple yet advanced. Raised beds were mounted on wheels so they could be moved to follow sunlight throughout the day. During winter, these movable beds were rolled under protective covers made with lapis specularis, thin, translucent sheets of a mineral called gypsum, which forms in clear, glass-like layers. It worked just like early greenhouse glass, trapping warmth and letting in sunlight. The science behind it mirrors modern greenhouse tech: passive solar heating, thermal regulation, and extended growing seasons. Specialized Roman gardeners, called topiarii, managed these installations with expertise, adjusting light exposure and temperatures to keep plants thriving year-round. Here's a fascinating detail. The crops weren't actually cucumbers as commonly mistranslated, but kokomis, snake melons or long-fruited melons that were highly prized by the Roman elite. Pliny noted, "There was never a day on which Tiberius was not supplied with it," demonstrating the system's remarkable reliability. When the Roman Empire fell, this greenhouse technology disappeared completely. Europe wouldn't see protected cultivation again until the Renaissance over 1,000 years later. Modern greenhouse growers use virtually identical principles that these ancient Romans pioneered. Egyptian Basin Irrigation. From Roman greenhouses to river-fed ingenuity, we now enter the birthplace of civilization itself. Ancient Egypt didn't just farm the desert, they engineered it, and they did it over 5,000 years ago. Around 3100 BCE, Egyptian farmers developed a method so effective it sustained their civilization for more than 3 millennia. Basin irrigation turned the unpredictable Nile floods into a controlled, predictable system, one that could feed millions. Massive earthen walls carved the floodplain into a series of giant basins. Each year, as the Nile overflowed, these basins trapped the floodwaters, soaking the land in nutrient-rich silt. Here's where it gets clever. Once one basin was saturated, water was manually transferred to others, extending irrigation far beyond the initial flood. This created consistent soil moisture and nutrient delivery throughout the growing season, long before the invention of pipes, pumps, or fertilizers. The system's efficiency was astonishing. Historical records describe harvest ratios as high as 11:1, meaning a single grain of wheat could yield 11 at harvest. The humble shaduf, a counterbalanced lever for lifting water, allowed farmers to irrigate huge fields with minimal effort, multiplying their reach without needing larger labor forces. This agricultural surplus didn't just feed a nation, it built one. The pyramids, temples, and bureaucracies of ancient Egypt weren't just feats of stone. They were the fruits of a farming system that turned the desert green. Archaeological evidence shows population densities of 130 to 180 people per square kilometer, higher than many modern agricultural regions. Chinese deep furrow cultivation. Leaving the floodplains of Egypt, we arrive in ancient China during the Warring States period, where a quiet agricultural revolution changed the way humans worked the land forever. This breakthrough came in the form of deep furrowing, made possible by a game-changing tool, the iron plow. Unlike wooden predecessors, iron plows could cut deep and wide through dense soil, allowing farmers to prepare land more thoroughly than ever before. Pulled by oxen, they carved furrows up to 18 inches deep, deeper than many modern farms still manage today. The benefits were as brilliant as they were practical. These deep channels trapped rainwater like miniature reservoirs, reducing runoff and preserving moisture. Crops were planted on the raised ridges between furrows, where they received better drainage, aeration, and full sun exposure. Wind protection came built in from the ridge design, and the deeper root zones allowed plants to access far more nutrients across a greater volume of soil. This technique opened up previously unfarmable heavy soils and dramatically boosted yields. Chinese texts from the Han Dynasty credit these practices with sustaining major population growth during a time of rapid expansion. One ancient manual, Fan Sheng Drushu, the Book of Fan Shengzhi, outlined these methods in detail. It revealed a culture of precision farming long before the term existed. Today's conservation tillage and ridge farming techniques can be traced directly to this ancient Chinese innovation, showing that over 2,000 years ago, farmers in China were already applying soil management strategies as advanced and intentional as those used today. Inca mountain agriculture. We now ascend into the thin air of the Andes, where Inca ingenuity turned mountainsides into some of the most productive farmland the world has ever seen. Farming at 12,500 feet above sea level sounds like a recipe for disaster, yet the Inca carved nearly 1 million hectares of terraces, known as andenes, into impossibly steep slopes. These were more than just retaining walls. Built without mortar, the stones fit so precisely that they stabilized the land, drained excess water, and captured solar heat. The result? Microclimates that raise temperatures just enough to protect fragile crops from mountain frosts. The fertilization system was just as advanced. Centuries before chemical fertilizers, the Inca harnessed seabird guano, an extraordinarily nutrient-rich material from coastal islands. This wasn't just fertilizer, it was strategic gold. Guano was so valuable that disturbing the birds producing it was punishable by death. It was transported hundreds of miles inland to nourish terrace farms that helped sustain an empire. I've used guano in my own plants. It's incredibly effective, rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and you can buy it pretty much anywhere online. There's something satisfying about tapping into a method that proved its worth centuries ago. In the Lake Titicaca Basin, Inca farmers developed waru, raised earth platforms surrounded by canals that stored solar warmth by day and released it at night, buffering crops from deadly freezes. This design allowed for multiple harvests in an environment where most modern farms would fail. Archaeological studies have confirmed these systems grew over 70 types of maize and countless potato varieties, each matched to its ideal elevation. Incredibly modern restoration efforts show that these ancient terraces still outperform nearby conventional fields, producing higher yields with less water and fewer inputs. Roman Stercorary systems. From the heights of Inca ingenuity, we descend into the fertile fields of ancient Rome, where compost wasn't just a pile of waste, but a precise science. So effective were these systems that George Washington studied and applied them centuries later at Mount Vernon. Roman Stercorary systems were among the most sophisticated composting operations the world had ever seen. Agricultural writers like Cato the Elder, Columella, and Pliny the Elder documented detailed methods that resemble modern organic manuals. These texts didn't just offer theory, they described hands-on processes that remained the gold standard for over a millennium. At the heart of it all was the Stercorarium, a purpose-built composting pit placed strategically near stables. Manure was just the beginning. Roman farmers layered straw, crop residues, kitchen scraps, ash, and, most prized of all, bird droppings with carefully observed ratios. These heaps were turned regularly and left to decompose for 6 to 12 months, transforming into rich, balanced fertilizer. Even without modern chemistry, Romans intuitively grasped the nitrogen cycle. Columella advised matching manures to crop types: horse for pastures, bird for grains, and mixed compost for high-demand vegetables. Today's tests confirm their methods delivered nutrient loads on par with modern organic practices, especially in nitrogen content. Roman estates didn't just feed families, they fueled empires. The Bosco Reale estate near Pompeii reportedly stored up to 100,000 amphorae, large clay jars used for transporting wine, each year. Much of that abundance came from compost-enriched soil, which helped farmers grow up to 15 times more wheat than they planted, more than double the typical yields of the time. Korean IMO fermentation. From Roman composting to an even more advanced biological breakthrough, we arrive in ancient Korea, home to one of humanity's earliest biotechnological systems for farming, the indigenous microorganism, or IMO, fermentation method. Long before the discovery of microbiology, Korean farmers were harnessing the invisible world of beneficial microbes to supercharge their soil. They didn't need microscopes, just steamed rice in wooden boxes placed in the forest to attract local fungi and bacteria from healthy ecosystems. These collected microbes became the foundation of a fermentation process that reads like a modern soil science manual. Nettle and comfrey were combined with brown sugar to create fermented plant extracts. Rice water fermented with milk-produced cultures rich in lactic acid and bacteria. Each preparation was precisely measured, diluted, and applied to crops not randomly, but with centuries of field-tested wisdom. The science behind it is cutting edge even by today's standards. These microbial brews improve soil structure, unlock nutrients, suppress pathogens, and train plant immune systems to resist disease. In modern times, it's probiotics, but for plants. Recent studies show this ancient method can reduce pests by 60% and cut pesticide use by nearly a third. And the benefits aren't just chemical, they're biological. Instead of sterilizing soil, this system builds living ecosystems beneath the surface, creating healthier plants and better yields, especially in staple crops like soybeans. Mesopotamian dual plow systems. Our exploration of ancient growing techniques takes us to the cradle of civilization itself, where Mesopotamian farmers solved agriculture's most challenging problems 5,000 years ago using techniques so advanced they're being revived for modern sustainable agriculture. Faced with brutal soil conditions and rising salinity, the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Assyrians developed a dual plow strategy that feels strikingly modern. Around 3000 BCE, over 1,000 years before China's deep furrow cultivation, they were already pairing a heavy plow to break compacted layers with a lighter one to turn the soil and mix in organic matter. This two-step process reached depths of 12 to 18 inches, rivaling or even exceeding what many modern tractors achieve today. But soil wasn't their only challenge. Salt buildup from irrigation threatened crop viability year after year. The Mesopotamians responded with an ingenious rotation. They flooded fallow fields each spring to leach out salts, used carefully managed drainage to carry them away, and planted salt-tolerant crops to rehabilitate tired soils. In effect, they created the ancient world's first sustainable land restoration system. Ancient clay tablets, written in the wedge-shaped script known as cuneiform, reveal surprisingly detailed instructions for field layout and management. Trees planted along the edges reduced wind erosion, while sloped fields were carefully furrowed or terraced to control water runoff. Their basin irrigation systems distributed water with such precision that they captured fertile silt centuries before the Nile's version was fully developed. The brilliance of their system lay in how each part supported the next. Deep tillage for root health, smart water control for fertility, and crop planning for long-term soil balance. These innovations didn't just grow food, they sustained the urban explosion of the world's first true cities. Chinese biological control. We return to ancient China, already a standout in our story for its deep furrow cultivation, as we have seen earlier, to uncover another groundbreaking innovation. Long before modern science coined terms like integrated pest management, Chinese farmers were using living allies to protect their crops and balance ecosystems. Take the duck rice system. Ducks were released into rice paddies where they devoured insects and weeds while fertilizing the fields with their droppings. Managed carefully to avoid disrupting rice pollination, these birds turned paddies into self-regulating ecosystems. In fruit orchards, Chinese growers deployed tree frogs as nocturnal guardians, feasting on night-flying insects that spoiled fruit. Farmers even created frog-friendly microhabitats to ensure healthy populations season after season. But the most advanced system may have been their citrus ant networks. Farmers cultivated specific ant species, linking trees with bamboo bridges to help ants patrol their groves. These ants attacked fruit pests with surgical precision. No need for sprays, just well-fed ants on duty. Modern research confirms these methods cut pest numbers by over 60% and reduce chemical pesticide use by nearly a third. Long before the term sustainability was coined, these ancient farmers had already mastered it, treating farms not as factories, but as ecosystems in balance. Greek terracing systems. Our last ancient technique for today's video takes us to the rugged hillsides of ancient Greece, where farmers faced a challenge that would have made most civilizations give up. With less than 20% arable land and scorching Mediterranean summers, how did they grow enough to feed entire city-states? The answer? Stone terraces. Beginning in the 8th century BCE, Greek farmers built flat-growing platforms into steep hills supported by dry-stacked stone walls. These weren't just about stability, they transformed the landscape. Rainwater was captured through trenches, cisterns, and shallow irrigation channels, ensuring not a drop went to waste. Even the stones played a role, absorbing heat by day and releasing it at night, extending the growing season for sun-loving crops like grapes and olives. Writers like Hesiod recorded the techniques in detail, proving this was organized knowledge, not guesswork. These terraces allowed Greece to produce the agricultural surpluses that powered its colonies, trade networks, and cultural golden age. And remarkably, many of these structures are still in use today, over 2,500 years later. It's a fitting finale for today's episode. Modern permaculture and sustainable farming movements have eagerly revived these ancient terraces, not for nostalgia, but because they work. Built right, they prevent erosion, conserve water, and outperform many conventional methods. In a world looking for smarter ways to grow, it turns out the Greeks left us more than philosophy. They left us a blueprint for survival on unforgiving land. From Aztec floating gardens to Roman greenhouses, from Chinese pest-controlling ants to Greek mountain terraces, these ancient farmers didn't just grow food. They engineered ecosystems that sustained entire civilizations. The secret? They didn't fight nature. They partnered with it. Which of these ancient techniques amazed you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed diving into these forgotten agricultural secrets, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping discoveries from history. This is Stellar Eureka, signing off.